Welcome into the post Super Bowl edition of Carp's Corner. Man, NFL season finally finished up. 17 regular season games, 14 teams entered the playoffs, and the Los Angeles Rams are victorious in Super Bowl 56, getting it done. Fantastic job by them. Very, very impressive. And one thing that I have loved, these playoffs, phenomenal games. Really, if you start looking back over like the last 10 Super Bowls, most of them have been pretty good games. Back and forth, comebacks at the end, heck, some overtime, with Brady, the Patriots, and the Falcons. Like there have been some great games that we've been privileged to watch. And so the NFL is riding high. This thing was good till the last drop. Only thing was a little disappointing is you didn't even maybe see an overtime or a chance for a field goal or a touchdown. But outside of that, this game had everything that you could have asked for. And had the stars performing big, plays being made. You had some injuries here and there, some intrigue of whether or not guys would come back in the game with the quarterbacks. And so we'll get into all that. This is all going to all be Super Bowl talk. And, for the most part, I thought everything was really good. Halftime show, fantastic. This is the first time in a while. I think probably Prince, I looked forward to it on the same level, but looking forward with such great anticipation to a halftime show. Dre, Snoop, 50 Cent, Eminem, Mary J. I mean, it was great. It was absolutely everything that I'd hoped for. Very rarely in life when you build something up so big, and let's be honest, if you're someone between the ages of, let's say, early to mid 30s and probably 50, like most of these people, if you were into any type of hip hop, like they were the guys, they were it. And so everybody blew this thing up when they went for it. The NFL getting outside of its safe box a little bit and trying to juice it up and have it in California's SoFi Stadium. And you think of, the names from Southern California that they had. It made all the sense in the world. It checked the boxes and they delivered. They landed the plane. Because you get that thing hyped up and you're like, how could it possibly be as good? There's going to be songs you want to hear, performances that maybe don't sound great, more time on this person, less time on this person. For however many minutes they had, I thought they maximized it all. But the wardrobe stuff was great. The set I thought was great. I'm not sitting here going to be a music critic and analyze the heck out of it, but I thought they basically hit on everything that you would have wanted to. It was Dre Day, next episode in the club. I mean, all the stuff, Eminem with Lose Yourself. I mean, Mary J killing it up there. It had everything. It was really good. And then, of course, getting a little Welcome to California out there as well. So that was fantastic. I mean, they got it going. California love, the whole 9 yards. And so I want to give them a big check plus for that. Before also we get to the game, commercials, I didn't really see anything set the world on fire. The Pringle can hand man, that was all right. I thought the Alexa one with Scarlett Johansson and her husband, boyfriend, whatever, from Saturday Night Live, I thought they were pretty good. Thinking, what's in your head and popping that through the stream of consciousness. And I think you can even kind of joke on that with the fact that everybody basically acknowledges now that your phone, Siri, Alexa, whatever it is, they're all listening to you anyway. Your timelines get filled with things that you've never actually searched for, but you just have talked about in the presence of your devices. And the machines, well, they hear everything now. And with that, well, we're getting all this. And so now the fact that they can incept and read your mind and they're spitting out thoughts, that's kind of funny. And I said that as I set up like our 5th or 6th Amazon Fire Stick today on the TV in our workout room, and understanding, like I said, they're watching everything, they're listening to everything. It's all there for them. So halftime show, great. Commercials, I feel like that thing probably kind of topped out 5 or 6 years ago. There are some good ones here and there, but some great movies and stuff that looks really good, things that are going to be coming out. So my kids were juiced up about the Lord of the Rings and that series coming out on Amazon Prime. So that got me going. That may have been one of the better ones, even though, as far as entertainment value, comedic relief, it really wasn't hitting there. But just as far as anticipation, well, I really like that. And the new Top Gun that's going to be coming out, that's been delayed about 3 stinking years. Can't wait to see Tom Cruise, who somehow looks about the same age. I mean, who knows what all he's taken to make sure he stopped aging. But dude looks fantastic, and it'll be exciting to go back and watch that. Now we're going to dive into the game. Good game, entertaining game. Wanted to start off with probably something that was the most underrated aspect of what we talked about leading into this, what everybody was talking about leading into the Super Bowl. It was all about the receivers on Cincinnati, receivers for the Rams, Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, that Rams defensive front of Miller, Aaron Donald, and Leonard. I mean, they were so good. They're checking all the boxes. These are the guys that were going to be legit. Well, that Cincinnati front heard about it. Their defensive line heard about it, posted a couple of sacks on Stafford. But probably the thing that was the most impressive is the fact of what they were able to do with that Rams rushing attack. You had Akers back, Sonny Michel. They had everybody at their full disposal, and 23 rushes and 43 yards later, they dominated the game. The Rams offense couldn't get anything going with the running attack. And I think that played in a lot with their ability, obviously, to utilize some of that play action, get their passing game going. Stafford was struggling a little bit early on. I think that attributed to it. But, forced a couple interceptions as well. Some tip balls and things like that. The play by Bates in the end zone was fantastic. He had a heck of a playoff run. But you look at what Kendrickson and Sam Hubbard were able to do. Great defensive ends, able to edge it up. And against the zone running scheme, that stretch zone, they run a little inside too, but want to get outside. If you can edge it, and you don't let the gaps get elongated, there aren't those natural rush lanes. And so Kendrickson and Sam Hubbard did a great job of that. Reader inside was fantastic. And really the linebackers, Logan Wilson, they were flying up, making their run fits, and never was able to get that Rams rushing attack, ever let them get going. And I would have to attribute a lot of that, obviously the defensive side of the ball, but Zach Taylor being on that staff, understanding how Sean McVay wanted to play the game, what he wanted to do, and being able to put it together and talk to his defensive coaches, saying, hey, this is what we need to stop. This is how we can stop them. This is what gives them problems. And knowing that and having insight into it, well, I think that mattered a lot. I thought that was big time ball. Did a great job. Cincy defensive front, the front seven, did not anticipate that happening. I did not think we would be talking about that after the game. But to those gentlemen, hats off, kudos there. Terrific job. Officials. There were 4 penalties heading into the final drive. I thought it was great. Let the guys play. You look at the Jalen Ramsey, T. Higgins, face mask, getting over the top, scoring, the long touchdown on that. He's upset about it. Okay, you're letting him play. And then on the other side, I think he got a little tug on one of the slants on 3rd down that could have been a touchdown after the pick. Okay, so you're letting them play. And that's good. Nobody wanted to see flags all over the place. And then all of a sudden, in the last drive, you get in the red zone, there's flags here, flags there. Yes, some of them were justified. The call on Logan Wilson, thought it was very, very questionable, a phantom call, with him on Cooper Kupp. But with all due respect, you should have never let Cooper Kupp inside. No, it doesn't excuse the penalty. It doesn't let the official off the hook. But 4 penalties going into that. Another 4 were called there in the waning moments of that final drive by the Rams. And that just, I'm not taking anything away from the Rams. They won the game. But it kind of tainted it and left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. I really didn't enjoy that. But all in all, and the worst thing was I tweeted about it right before there, the 2-minute warning, like, the fact that we hadn't talked about the officials and they had been such a big story the entirety of the playoffs, and flags here, flags there, pass interference, illegal contact, targeting for receivers, all this stuff. And that kind of all disappeared. It melted away. It was great to sit there and watch games and enjoy them for the first time without laundry all over the field. And then we got it at the end. And so that kind of tainted it a little bit. A couple calls there. I'm like, if you're going to let them play all game, I've never been a fan of then tightening it up at the end. Like that to me is ridiculous. There's conspiracy theorists out there. And if you're a Cincinnati fan, you're probably thinking, hey, there was no way they were going to let the Bengals win. The Rams at home, big market, all the stars. They were going to make sure. I don't buy into the conspiracies with that. But all of a sudden, the officials started calling it much tighter than they did all game. And as a player, you hate that. Why? Because you've been letting us do something. You've been in the flow of the game. You set the tempo as an official, and then players have to play it off of it. If you're calling it tight, back off. Calling it loose, okay, we can be more aggressive. And that goes for both sides. And so it felt like, hey, they'd already established that you're 58 minutes into the game. And then all of a sudden we start throwing laundry all over the place. I didn't think that needed to happen. Not like that. I think it kind of impacted it a little bit. For me, not necessarily the way you want to see the game ultimately end. There was some that could have went both ways earlier on. And then you felt like a lot of them got kind of dumped on Cincinnati there on that final defensive drive. But whatever. Can't go back and change it. Zach Taylor, guy who people wanted to fire at the beginning of the season, wanted to fire probably even in the middle of the season, got this team going, played really good ball down the stretch. He came out. I thought it was going to be Sean McVay, who was the one who was going to take the chances. Hey, I was in the Super Bowl about 5 years ago. Didn't go my way. Didn't score any points. We had too many things on the docket. He said, tried to do too much, outthought ourselves. All right. I thought he'd come out and say, let's be simple with this. Let's try to get a lead. We've got some really good receivers. We're elite. They're probably not going to run much pressure early on. Let's first or second play out of the gate. Let's bomb one over the top. Maybe in the second drive, take a shot. And they started trying to take some shots, but they never really were able to get anything going. Tribute to credit that to Cincinnati's secondary. It's tribute to how well they played on the deep balls. But Zach Taylor was the one that was aggressive. He came out there and maybe he saw that from the Super Bowl and said, you know what? You got to go get this thing, man. You can't just let the game come to you. You have to go dictate it. Goes forward early on a fourth down. Hey, it doesn't necessarily work, but I thought it was the right call. Right there, goes forward again on fourth down with Joe Burrow, this time ultimately choosing, instead of throwing the ball, which Joe probably made a bad read on the first one, hey, we're going to have the quarterback draw. Let Joe use his legs a little bit. Worked out. And then, they were 1 for 3 because ultimately the last fourth down, which we'll get to here in a little bit. Thought he was very aggressive. Really enjoyed how he called it. Halfback pass with Mixon in the red zone. They've been running the ball so effectively. Boom, we'll toss it out to our running back, have him throw a pass. 2 non-quarterbacks threw passes in this game because Cooper Kupp threw one too. So if you're keeping up with some of the prop stuff, you've got some options right there. I think the over-under was 1.5 on that one. But another aggressive call, making sure they get points in the red zone and not field goals. Big call right there, very aggressive. Came out starting the game. A lot of empty sets. Quick game, getting the ball out. Worked pretty well early on. Aaron Donald began to turn it up, and we'll get into that defensive line for the Rams. But quick game early on, got him going. I thought that was a big difference, but he was very aggressive. Kept the running game, stuck with it. It wasn't always the prettiest thing in the world, but that was something that helped allow Mixon to be able to throw that halfback pass. If you're going to throw that, you have to make sure that, hey, you're running the ball effectively or it's not going to fake anybody out. And then the play action shots, thought that was awesome. He was the one that took shots down the field, getting it to Chase, getting it to Higgins, letting those guys do what they do and understanding they were a big play offense all season. Why are we going to stop? Why are we going to change what we are right now? No reason to. And so the moment was not too big for Zach Taylor. I know a lot of people probably look at this, Cincinnati, and they were loathing him all year. I thought he called a good game. I thought he coached a good game. At some point in time, you have to have players who can block people. You can only smoke and mirror that thing for so long. And I thought Zach Taylor did about as well as you could have asked him to do, given what he was working with up front. So I thought the calls were good. They couldn't really run it all that effectively in short yardage situations, but they kept them off balance, running in other times. And Mixon had a very productive day, I thought. A very, very productive day, and did a good job on the ground. If you look at 72 yards, 14 carries, 4.3 on the ground, good day for Mixon. And that's a credit to Zach Taylor. So I give him a check plus in the box for the job that he did as the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. I thought he outcoached McVay. He just didn't have the horses that he had. Since I brought up the props, 2 players throwing the ball, non-quarterbacks. The over-under was set at 1.5, I believe, for that. Another prop that cashed early, both teams having the lead in the second half. That was one that I liked. Earlier, you get about minus 196 on that one. But if you thought it was going to be a back and forth game, which it ultimately was, Rams start the second half with a lead. All of a sudden, boom, Cincinnati scores twice back to back. Boom, they've got the lead then.